In this video, we're going to be looking at how we can add health to enemies. This will not be health bars, but just general health, so we can destroy the enemies after so many hits. So I've got my player set up, and I've got my 3 enemies coming towards my player. So my player needs to be able to defend itself and take the enemies down. But we don't want it to be a single hit, kill the enemy. We want to make it a bit more interesting and say these enemies take a couple more hits to take down. So what we need to do is we're going to go into our event sheet, and we're going to add a brand new event. And if you've not watched any tutorials on creating bullets or shooters or combat weapons, please watch one of them first, because we're going to apply that logic to this scenario. So first of all, we're going to check if the bullet overlaps another object, being the enemy. So if we overlap the enemy in any particular way, what do we want to do? Well, the most important thing that we need to do first is actually destroy the bullet. This means that this code will only execute once. The bullet cannot overlap a second time because it's destroyed straight away. So this solves a lot of issues by just getting that bullet out of the way. Also means that we can't pierce through one enemy and take out other enemies from behind. If we do want to do that, really quick fix is just add another condition, system, and there's this great line of code they've added, which is trigger once while true. This means it only triggers once. Why that is true, and it means that it needs to re-trigger it completely. So it needs to leave that boundary, leave the enemy, and then go into another enemy boundary before that triggers again. That's only if you want piercing bullets. So we're going to destroy the bullet. So that's the first step. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to add some health to our enemies. The way that we do that is we right click on our enemies and add an instant variable. Now, I've got one added already. Let me delete that, and let's add a brand new one. So we're going to call it health, and it's going to be a number, and I'm going to set it to 3. So by default, all enemies will have 3 health. What we want to do then is anytime the enemies hit, we're going to add an action, and we're going to say enemy, and we're going to subtract from health by 1. And obviously, if you've got different weapons set up in your game, you can subtract a larger amount or a different amount. If the player gets upgrades where they become stronger, you can take this amount away and be bigger. But for now, we'll say it's 1. So we take away 1 from the enemy's health. Now, we need to check to make sure the enemy's actually got health. So we're going to add a new event, enemy. I'm going to scroll through, and we're going to compare instance variable. So we're going to say, is health equal to 0? If it is, then we want to destroy the enemy. So enemy, scroll down, and destroy. So that's set up now. So the enemy has got health. If they take a hit, we take health away from them, and they've got 0 health, they get destroyed. Let's test it. So first enemy, 1, 2, 3, he's destroyed. Second enemy, 1, 2, and 3. And then final enemy, oh, can't get over the block, but he will take 3 hits as well and die. So now we've got that set up. So now we've got this set up, we can do some stuff to make it a little bit more flexible. So the first thing that we can do is we can click on an enemy. And it's really important that when you click on an enemy, you don't click on all the enemies. You just manually click on one enemy. This means you can change the health of just that particular enemy in the scene at the time. If you click on the enemy and it selects all of them, it will change all their health. So just be careful of that. So I'm going to change this first one to be 2. I'm going to click off and click on the other enemy, and I'm going to change his health to be 5. So now our first enemy should tie in 2 hits. Our second enemy, which is a bit of a boss, is going to take those extra couple of hits. So now if we test this, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see that you can adjust this to be flexible without having to create a new enemy every single time. Final thing you might want to do is when the enemy is destroyed, we can actually go to the enemy, scroll down, we can set an effect. So I'm just going to set the color. So I'm going to add 100 to the red, and this is going to happen before it's destroyed. I'm also going to rotate the enemy. So I'm going to rotate clockwise by 90. And again, I want to do this before it's destroyed. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of a weight. So let's say 0.3 seconds or 0.5. So now when we play our game, 1, 2, and you'll see that actually it has this little death animation. Now actually it spins around really quick, so we just want to right click, add another condition, and we only want this to execute once while true. So we use our trigger once while true, and now again when he dies, 2 hits, 1, 2, we get this little death animation as well, and that just makes the player feel like they've done a little bit more than the enemy just vanishing. They can see the enemies died a little bit. So that's how you add health bars or health to your enemies that you can then kill.